Hello, welcome to part 5 of the Octopath Traveler Tutorial Series for Smile Game Builder. In this part, we're going to cover the basics of creating an exterior of a house using pixel art as the texture. So let's start with creating the texture. As you can see, I have the tiles that I'm going to use already open. I'm going to start by creating a new file that's 512 by 512. This should give me plenty of space to work with. So what we want to do is give ourselves plenty of texture to work with. Looking at the tiles right now as they are, it would be difficult to patch together a full entire house. So what I'm going to do is create multiple parts of the same texture. It's going to look a little redundant, but it should give us, it should give us plenty to work with. So I'm going to copy this texture to my file here. What I really want to do is capture that 16 by 16 style again. So I'm going to separate these real quick. And I'm going to make sure the middle of this texture is in the middle of the grid there. And I'm going to take this section and copy and paste it. I'm going to do this several times actually. And the reason I'm going to do that is so that I have an extra long piece of house. And we're going to do the same thing right here. I'm going to change back to this. Okay, and don't worry about this bottom part. We can easily get rid of that. I'm going to delete this background. And then I'm just going to quickly get rid of these extra bits here and I'm going to merge visible. There we go. So now I can quickly delete these easily. All right, except for the pieces we need to keep, which are here. So there we go. All right, do the same thing here. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually make it a little bit taller too, because I like my buildings to be just taller. So I'm going to grab this portion and just move it up here so it looks like that. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing here. Oop, and move to the right layer actually. And we'll move this up here. Yeah, I just want it to be taller. I like my buildings to be about 3 tiles tall. Let's copy some more pieces of the texture over. I'm going to grab all the windows real quick and put them in there because we're going to use those. So let's put the windows here. All right. And then we also need to grab the roof pieces. So I'm just going to grab a couple different colors here. I actually want to make these roofs a little bit wider too, just like I did the house, so I have plenty of texture. And for time purposes, I'm just going to do 2 colors. But you guys can do what you want once you know what you're doing. Okay. I'm just going to copy that here, here, and here. Again, I'm using the grid that I'm working with. Yeah, I just want these to be a little bit wider, about 4 or 5 tiles wide, just so I have plenty of texture to work with. Merge these layers again. Okay. Here we go. And just copy and paste. I'm not going to worry about cleaning up the textures too much, just because, again, you guys can handle that. Okay, so let's move back here. And I've got a roof tile. I've got my walls. I'll go ahead and grab these damaged tiles as well. You know, you can use those. I'm not going to use them this episode, but again, You know, I might use them later, but I'm not going to use them now. This will just help with, you know, customizing the house a bit more. Okay, and I think the last thing I'll do is I'll actually grab this. I'm only going to use one part of it, really, but I'm not going to use the roof tiles because we actually really want to use these right here. I'm also going to grab some of these plants and the tops of the chimneys. Okay, because those will come in handy as well if we want to make little details. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and export this as my texture. And I'm just going to save over this one. Okay, great. Once you have your texture exported, go ahead and we'll start with a fresh file. We'll empty it out and we're going to start with a cube. And what I'm going to do is go into edit mode and scale it by 0.5. And then I'm going to scale it by 5. I want to do a 5 by 5 house. It's not going to be quite that tall, but we'll fix that here in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and press 1 on my number pad and move this up to ground level. All right, perfect. Now I'm going to grab the top and I'm going to bring it down to about the 3 level. There we go. All right, so this is really 5 by 5 by 3. So I'm going to cut this into appropriate size chunks. So 5 by 5. Oop, that's 6. 5 by 5 by 3. Perfect. So what we'll do is we'll grab the whole top portion. I'm going to teach you a new technique here. If you're in face select mode and you hit C, it doesn't matter which select mode you're in, but if you hit C, that is a, it's kind of like a multi-select. So I'm going to come around and as long as you're holding the mouse button down, it will select all those faces. Now, I'm going to extrude this. So press E to extrude. And I'm going to extrude it by 2. Next thing I'm going to do is these two middle ones I'm going to merge. So I'm going to select them, hit M, and merge at the center. And I'm going to do that for all these middle vertices here. So again, we'll select them, merge to center, merge to center, merge to center. Perfect. All right, and then I'm going to enable mirror editing with the X, and I'm going to grab, well actually first I'm going to actually merge this down here. So I'm going to merge this to last at this point. So I'm going to select the top one and the bottom one, hit M, merge to last. M, merge to last. Just do that for all of these. I'm going to make sure my X mirror is on, and I'm going to grab these right here, go into front view, press G and then Z, and then I'm going to pull these down like so. I'm going to hold Control as well. There we go. Now we got the basic makings of a house. Now this is a pretty large house. I like to make my houses a little bit bigger. I mean, it's kind of up to you what you want to do. So now I'm going to grab all of these faces on both sides. And I'm going to hit P. What this does is separates the selection by separates the selection. Basically, it's separating the selection into a new object. So I'm going to hit selection. And when I go to object mode, you can see there are 2 different objects. So now I have my main part of the house and then the roof. So I'm going to go ahead and rename these objects. I'm going to name this roof. And I'm just going to name this house. Cool. All right. So I'm going to take my roof, go back into edit mode. I'm going to go to edge select, and I'm going to select all these edges here. I'm going to press G, and then I'm going to move them down to, holding Control, I'm going to move them down to, and Shift, right about there. I want a little overhang on my roof. There we go. And then we're going to grab all these faces again. And once you have all the faces, we're going to go back into side view or front view, and we're going to press E to extrude, and we're going to just extrude up like so. Now we're going to do this. We're going to grab the front here. I'm going to turn off X, and then I'm going to turn on Y, and I'm going to press G, Y, and this will just make sure we have a little bit of an overhang onto the top there too. Perfect. Now I'm going to start texturing this. I'm going to hit save on my keyboard. I'm going to hit Control S to save, and I'm going to save this as House 01. All right. Cool. Now let's create our material. I'm just going to call this house, and we're going to open the image texture, and we're going to choose our house, and let's go to UV editing. Okay, before we actually start texturing the house, I'm going to delete the bottom of the house here. We don't need these. We don't need these faces. So we're going to select them all, delete faces. Sorry, not only faces. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to create the doorway for the house. So I'm going to create it just on this middle part right here. So I'm going to select these two, hit E, and extrude it back like so. There we go. So that's the inside of the doorway. Perfect. This is about all we need to start texturing the house. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start... Oh, this is not the right texture. All right, so we're going to start texturing the house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these faces on the front of the house other than the door frame. And then I'm going to come back here and do the same thing. I'm going to select these portions. Hit 1 on my keyboard. I'm going to hit U, and then I'm going to do project from view. Perfect. I'm going to scale this down, and we're going to use this part right here. And I'm also going to scale it in the X a little bit because I want to grab those edges right there. Perfect. And we need to turn material mode on so we can see what we're doing. All right, there we go. We're already looking pretty good. Our back there looks good too. I'm gonna do the same thing on the sides. I'm gonna hit 3 this time, and I'm gonna grab all of these, hit 9 to flip to the other side, grab all of these, and then I'm gonna hit U, project from view. I'm gonna do the same thing. We're gonna move these over here and put them in place, and scale in the X there a little bit, and voila, we've got that going. Perfect. Next, I'm going to do this top roof part, and I'm not going to worry about using this. What I'm going to do is actually just use this right here. So I was going to use that, but I think it'll just work better if I use that right here. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 on the keyboard, U, project from view, grab this, and let's put it right here. There we go. So we've got first part of our house done. So let's work on the roof now. I'm going to give it the same material, the house material, and then I'm going to go into edit mode and start grabbing the faces I want to use. Now for this, it's going to be a little more tricky. This is wider than this part, so we're just going to use this middle part first on both sides. And all right, let's hit U, project from view, and let's just grab that right here. And then we're going to do the same thing for the edges here. Press 3, U, project from view. All right, and then just gonna grab this. Whoops, don't hide it. Grab it here. Scale on the Y. And just line it up. There. It looks good. Alright, let's do this piece. Do the same thing here. Line it up until it looks like it is good. Might take some moving around, but once you got it, you got it. Cool. All right, and then I'm gonna grab this part, and we're gonna put, actually, I'm just gonna do this. There we go. I'm gonna put that here for now. Do the same thing on the side here. All right, and we're gonna do the sides here. This one I'm just gonna do a project from view. Project from view. All right, perfect. Scale it down and just place it right about there. Awesome. Cool. So now that we have our roof done, let's do the inside of the doorway here, which is going to be really easy. I'm just going to select this part. Press U. Hit A, scale it down, and place it into the middle of the doorway there. Perfect. Actually, let's do the door frame first, because that'll be pretty easy. So what we're gonna do, if your 3D cursor is not in the middle there, just hit Shift C, and that'll center your scene. And then I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm gonna create a cube. Press 3, I'm going to move my Q here, press 1 and move it. Turn off X mirror and then scale this down until it's about yay big. And move it back over here. GX. And I want it right about there. There we go. And I'm going to grab the top face and just G and the Z there. All right. This should be relatively easy. I'm going to hit 1 on the keyboard, select the whole object by pressing L on one of the faces. And then I'm going to press U and project from view. Perfect. And I'm just going to grab the door frame right here. Scale in the Z. Well, it's only too tall, so I don't really need to do a lot of that. All right, now that I have that, I'm going to press Shift D with the object selected. Press X and just move it along the X until it's right there. Perfect. And then for the top frame, I'm going to do the same thing. I hit Shift D, move it up here, rotate it on the Y, and scale in the X. Press U, project from view so it's the right size. And then I'm just going to choose like this top portion up here. Or, you know, whatever's closest. And I'm going to move this piece out. I hit L so I have the whole thing selected. G, Y. I'm going to move it out in the Y a little bit there. And actually I might make it a bit taller. There we go. Perfect. All right, our door frame is made. And now let's make a window. So the quickest way to make a window is to first choose which window you want to make. And then we're going to, so this is a square window. So this will be the fastest way to make a window. Looks like I didn't grab a window that doesn't have the lights off, which is fine. Again, this is just showing you how to do it. So I'm gonna hit Shift A, do another cube. I'm just gonna move it off to the side here and scale it down to where it's about 1 tile size, a little bit bigger. And then I'm gonna move it, actually move it to the opposite side. GX, move it to this, oops. I'm gonna move it to the opposite side here and then hit 3. I'm gonna scale in the Y until it's about yay big. I'm gonna go 1 and then, yeah, let's make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, let's make it right about there. A little bit smaller than 1 grid size. Then I'm gonna hit U, project from view. And I'm gonna grab this and just move the window right here. All right. Right about there. And there you go. A quick, easy window. So let's move it. Let's move it by the Y, move it by the X, G, Z. All right. And basically, you can use that same method to decorate your house however you want. So like if you want to get really fancy and start making like more decorations. Here, I'm just going to duplicate the window here. Like you could do the same thing with this. Just make it in the, make it in the shape somewhat. It doesn't have to be perfect. But the next thing to do, you could also like embellish the house with like more wood pieces. So if say you wanted to like embellish this wood part, you could like copy this and just scale it down a little bit or scale it up, whatever. But you want to make this look, like that. So you've got like a little more detail in your model there. You can do that and just you can make more models or more edging pieces and just have at it, like go crazy with the edging and the detail if you wanted to. But that's the basics of it. Okay, so we have a basic house here. So let's go ahead and export it as an FBX. I'm gonna leave it like this because I want you guys to embellish your houses any way that you want. You could even, go as far as see how these are like rounded wood pieces. You could project this onto a cylinder and then just put the cylinder on the corners. I mean, you could really go crazy with it however you want. All right, so I'm going to export this object as an FBX. We're going to call it House 01. All right, and let's open up Smile Game Builder. All right. So this house is going to be a little bit bigger than the houses I already have in here. I think I made these like 4 by 5, something like that. This is like a 5 by 5. So let's do add assets, maps, objects, add. So we're going to open up the house and set it to 0.01 and make sure this is flagged. And let's go to our house page. All right, perfect. So yeah, it's 5 by 5. You can set your grid up however you want. I accidentally replaced one of my houses. That's okay. But in essence, you have this. Now, the only issue that I see with this is that there's a little bit of issues with the texture here. That's because that's like flat against the ground. A quick way to fix that would be to go back into your object, press, grab this back edge here, Press G and then Z and just bring it up a hair. Doesn't need to be a lot, just a hair. And once that's done, just open it or add it back in. Yeah, house of 1. And there we go. You don't have that. That's going to do it for this part of the tutorial. I hope you'll join me next time where we'll start working on the interior objects for houses. And then after that, we'll get into exporting to Unity. We'll see you next time, and happy game building.